What's going on, everybody? It's Anthony with Repzilla, where you can watch, decide, and ride. Oh wait, no, wrong one. Let's try that again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Yammy Noob. We have our first mod on one of our new beginner bikes, the Z650. Today we're actually doing fender eliminator kit, integrated tail light, front blinkers, flasher relay, all the good stuff to this motorcycle. Let's dive in. Alright, for those of you who don't know, this Z650 is our brand new giveaway motorcycle for the Beginner Bike Giveaway series. We've also got two more, the Honda CBR 500R and the Triumph Street Scrambler. If you click the link down below, you get entered to win. But you don't just get that, you get access to our Discord server, which is like a bike night that never ends. And on top of that, you can help us pick mods for these motorcycles. So if you want all of that good stuff, click the link down below and get started. Now let's get into the build. So I thought today it might be fun to talk about my process for working on a motorcycle I'm not super familiar with. I've actually never worked on a Z650 before, but I have a lot of experience installing similar mods on similar motorcycles. So I'd share a little bit about how I actually approach a motorcycle and dive in to do something that I'm not super sure exactly what I need to do, but there's some general tips that work for all bikes. So let's dive in. So you actually learn a lot about how a motorcycle is put together just by looking under the seat. When we get a little shot in here, there's actually nothing under the seat. So I know everything is a little bit further down and we got to take this bike a little bit more apart. So I'm looking at the harness coming from this taillight and there's really not a lot there. So I'm just going to start pulling it out and seeing exactly where all the connectors are and start fitting them up to our new unit there. So we managed to get the old unit out, which unfortunately we're not going to have the little Z looking effect on this new one, but I do like this nice smoked signal here. We look at this harness and you'll notice there's extra plugs here which are for the turn signals, whereas this just has the brake light. So that means that before we go ahead and install this guy, we actually need to go in and remove more stuff from this motorcycle. It's really important to just sit and think about what you're doing before you actually turn a wrench. Otherwise, you might end up taking way more stuff off than you actually need to. So I pulled the little bolts that were holding this to the frame, the fender right here to the frame, and lo and behold, there's one extra screw in here that's buried beneath this little crossbar, because probably this thing was designed in a computer and no one considered, well, a human is going to take this apart. So what I need to do is actually get in and actually take more of the plastics off. This is the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about when you dive into a job. Instead of just pulling everything off right away, only pull the parts off that you need to. So as I'm pulling all this plastic off, you can see there's quite a little bit of commitment to the green bit here. This whole subframe, actually I think it's the whole frame is green. I mean, usually it tapers off back here. They don't use all the same green materials. Normally it'd be just black. But goddamn if Suzuki didn't commit to the bit here. Kawasaki, not Suzuki. It's not blue, it's green. So after carefully tracing and delicately removing that giant whale tail, we're actually ready to start installing stuff onto this motorcycle. So we need to run this up into the bike. We actually aren't gonna have a license plate light on here, but we are gonna have a little socket for one. It's already registered and the light will be lit by the tail light. So it'll be all right for Texas. And it should be really just as simple as plugging it up and starting screwing stuff together. So let's do that. So another thing you wanna do when you're installing all this new electrical stuff is mimic as close as you can the way that the wires were laid up. So I don't wanna just let it dangle across the frame here. I actually want to tuck it under these frame spars and into all the original plugs and make sure that nothing's getting pinched. That's a big thing. These wires are thin, they're easy to pinch and easy to break the connection on. So, you know, just think about it. Just put it where it's supposed to go and where it looks nice, because usually the manufacturer designed the motorcycle so you're not staring at a bunch of wires. So now while you're plugging all of this stuff up, it's important to verify exactly which plug goes to which socket here, especially when it comes to turn signals. You don't want to cross connect them and have, when you turn left, your opposite end turn on. So just take it slow, match it. Sometimes it'll say in the kit which wire goes where, but in my experience, it's always better to trust but verify. So just slowly plug them in and see which turns on when. And if you do it right, everything will work just fine. So an important thing as you're stitching these motorcycles back up is not to just wrench and wrench and wrench and wrench until it feels like it's as tight as it should be, because this is a steel screw going into plastic threads and you'll just rip them out. So get it close and then trust that the plastic is gonna hold it. If you're a little worried, you can go get some blue Loctite and put it on there, but I'm not too worried about these screws backing themselves out on me. So you'll see here, there's a big little cavity where the fender used to be, and we actually have a block off plate and our new license plate bracket, which is gonna mount right up in this hole here, and that is gonna look mighty nice once we're done installing it. So let's go ahead and get that on there. So we pulled that thing off the back of the bike there to see if maybe the fuses were there. And if you're wondering why we're looking for the fuses, it's actually to put a new flasher relay in there to control that hyper flash. You saw earlier that the tail light was blinking super duper quick. And the only way to fix that is with a flasher relay, which we actually have. I should go get it for this shot. That's a flasher relay. Really simple little thing. These are actually programmable, so you can go in and change the flasher rate of your indicators. So if you want it to blink faster or slower, you can do that with this. But I don't know where the fuses are on this motorcycle. I thought they were there because usually they're under the seat. My next best guess is right here because I see something that looks vaguely fuse plug-like up here. So I'm going to take this panel off. Fingers crossed. So we often champion the virtues of a naked bike, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have to pull plastics off. It turns out that this piece is connected to this piece, which is connected to this piece in one giant side fairing. So in theory, once I pull this off, there should just be a couple of rubber grommets holding this in place. And then we'll be able to see, hopefully, fingers crossed, the fuses. If they're on the other side, I'm not gonna be very happy. So after a little bit of exploration up here, we actually did find the flasher relay. It turns out it was underneath this little tank bib here, and it's literally just plug and play. This is the old one here, which we don't need anymore. And all you did, you just unplug it, plug the new one in, and you solve your little hyper flash problem, which we will show you now. So the last thing we need to do here is take the front big blinkers off. Now these things actually irritated the hell out of me when we were doing our comparison ride with the SV650 because they like to wiggle and wobble quite a bit. And it looks like there's just a couple of bolts holding them in. We will need to solder the connectors onto our new lights. I could have gotten adapters, but you know how I feel about bullet connectors. So let's dive in and knock this out. So we're back here with the soldering iron out, and you'll see that we have some bullet connectors on our pod signal here. And I prefer just having it go right to the stock harnesses. So I've scavenged these from the bike, and I'm gonna chop those off, cut the wires down, solder it together, and it'll be ready to rock and roll. So let's do that right now. So turns out that I thought that first solder was going so great. It was like one of my best jobs yet, and as per usual, when I do it really well, that means I messed something up. I forgot to take the screws off, and I forgot to put the boot on so that I could actually install it on the motorcycle. So what I need to do is I actually need to bust out the Dremel and cut off this little sleeve so that I have enough room to thread the connector on, and then I'll have to resolder it and I'll have to do it again for the other side. So I guess practice makes perfect. So we kind of glossed over the indicators here, and I want to explain exactly what happened. We had to pull the headlight down and then pull this whole indicator system out of the front. There's these little boots here. We had to cut those down so that we could fit these new TST guys on there, and then we had to solder them in line. So when you're doing this on your own motorcycle, it really pays to go slow and pay attention to what you're doing, because indicators are really easy to do right, but they're also kind of easy to goof up halfway through. So really take some time and just think about what you're doing. And if all goes well, they end up looking something like that. All right, and there we have it. The bike is all set up. I actually really like the way this looks. The combination with the smoke and the really aggressive tail tidy here with the smoked lenses up front, I think it looks really, really good, really aggressive, definitely in keeping with the Street Fighter aesthetic of this motorcycle. And honestly, I've heard people say that they don't necessarily like these long bladed ones. They make little stubby turn signals. I prefer these ones because they're a little bit easier for everyone else to see. They're very bright. And honestly, I run a set of these on my motorcycle. I love them. And this thing just looks so good now. I'm really, really pleased with this whole setup. So hopefully doing all this today showed you that it's really easy to make super aggressive changes to the look of your motorcycle. And hopefully I showed you how easy it is to make super aggressive but also good looking and smart changes to your motorcycle. You don't have to hack off your exhaust system to make it look different. You can do something just this simple and just this professional at home. And hopefully showing you my thought process for approaching a new motorcycle makes it a little less daunting for you. Now remember, if you want to win this motorcycle, click the link down below, go to yammynoob.co and get signed up.
You've made it to the end of a Yammy Noob video. Did you like what you saw? Do you want to see more of it? Check it out, right here, just like magic, waiting for you. Click this little square right here, more memes, more Yammy, more of my face. Isn't that great?